Hey everybody, Sevuhl here, and today we're going to be doing the Kenobi room from TryHackMe. I figured I would go ahead and continue on with the OSCP learning path since I recently purchased VIP, and I figured I'd also document it along the way. So I already went ahead and deployed the machine. I got Cherry Tree ready for some notes. I'm not going to get too granular with the notes, but they're there for good reason. Obviously, it's always good to take notes, and I have a terminal set up ready to go, and we have the IP address, and the machine should be good to go now. So VPN is set up as well, so we're good to go. Alrighty, so task one, deploy the vulnerable machine. Obviously, we've already done that, and make sure you connect to your to our network and deploy the machine. We're good there. Scan the machine with Nmap. How many ports are open? So let's go ahead and give that machine a scan. We're just going to do a very basic scan, but first let's if I already have one, I don't. I already made a directory for the Kenobi box, so let's go ahead and make a nmap directory. We're going to go ahead and do that scan now. So SC for default scripts, SV to enumerate all versions of the port, and we'll do OA for output all formats. We want to save it to the nmap directory, and we're just going to call it open ports. And that IP address is 10.10.79.246. We'll go ahead and let that run for a second, and we will get those port numbers, or how many ports there are. Okay, looks like it's finished, and we have a few ports here. Looks like 21 for FTP. That seems old. I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure it's way past 1.3.5. We have SSH on 22. Seems okay. We have port 80 for HTTP. We have some RPC on 111. Some SMB shares. We have NFS, and then just a tiny clock skew there by an hour, 40 minutes or so. So let's see. That means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like we have 7 ports open, so that should answer our question there. And we'll go ahead and copy that and just paste it in there. Oh, okay. I guess paste doesn't like to work. That's fine. So scan the machine. Oh, you know what? We'll make it a little bit better for us. How many ports are open? We'll do 7 because that's how many are open. All right, let's go ahead and move on to task 2, and that's looks like we're going to be enumerating the SMB shares, and kind of gives you an idea of what Samba is for Windows. In the it's the standard Windows interoperability suite of programs for Linux and Unix. It allows end users to access and use files, printers, and other commonly shared resources on a company's intranet or internet. It's often referred to as a network file system. And our first little task here within task 2 is using Nmap, we can enumerate a machine for SMB shares. Nmap has the ability to run to automate a wide variety of networking tasks. There is a script to enumerate shares. SMB has 2 ports, 445 and 139, and it gives a quick little rundown on those, which is pretty cool. And then it says, using Nmap, using the Nmap command above, I'm assuming this one in red, how many shares have been found. And that's a cool thing about Nmap. If you're not familiar with it, it does have scripts. So if you want to get familiar with the scripting in Nmap, definitely something to look up. So now that we have that share, let's go ahead and run that Nmap scan. We will go ahead and just copy that into that and let that run for a second. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, and we're back, and it looks like we found 3 shares. So we have an IPC share, which is hidden, and we know that by the $sign here. This is a pretty common share in Windows, the IPC share. But it looks like we have anonymous read and write access, which is, I've seen it either way. We have the anonymous share, which isn't a common share, SMB share in Windows. And it looks like the path is actually in the Kenobi share for the Kenobi user in the home directory. So that's interesting. And we have read and write access as anonymous. And we also have print share, which is also hidden, denoted by the $sign. Looks like it doesn't give us any information about that access. So no issue there. We know that this might be our path, but that wasn't the question. It was how many shares do we have, and we have 3. So that should do it for us, and we want to go ahead and update our notes in cherry tree. So how many shares? And we found 3, and then we'll go ahead and kind of space out the tasks within, or the questions within the task. So moving on most distributions of Linux, SMB client is already installed. This is correct, especially on Kali. Let's inspect one of these shares using your machine connect to the machine's network share. Once you're connected, list the files on the share. What is a file that you can see? So if you're not familiar with SMB client, they give you a nice little idea of what to use, the syntax. So we'll go ahead and plug that in real quick to the anonymous share. So we'll go ahead and run SMB client, and that's 10.10.79.246, and then we're going to go into the anonymous share. And it's going to ask for a password. Just go ahead and just hit, you can just enter through. And let's go ahead and list what's in there, and we get a log.txt. So that's interesting. But first, let's go ahead and answer that question for them. So we'll also update our notes. So what file is found in the anonymous share? And that was log.txt. All right, moving on. You can recursively download the SMB share to, I'm sorry, I kind of said that. It's like a kind of a run-on sentence there. You can recursively download the SMB share as well. Submit the username and password has nothing. And it gives you the SMB get command in order to run that as well. Open the file on the share. Open the file on the share. There is a few interesting things found. All right, so let's go ahead and get that done. We'll just use SMB get there. Let me exit that and then clear, and then we can SMB get -r, and that's going to be SMB 10.10.79.246, and then the share that we just accessed, which was anonymous. And it's going to ask for a password again. Just hit enter, and we'll give that a second, and boom, we got log.txt. And you see it there. What I'm going to do, just to be a little bit more organized, I'm going to make a directory called files, and I'm going to move that log.txt file into the files directory. That way, we kind of keep at least the home directory for Kenobi kind of clean, and everything's in a spot that would seem reasonable. I would expect my text files to be in the files directory, so perfect. And let's go ahead and cat out that file. So log.txt, and we can let's just kind of go to the top here. We'll see what's going on. So it looks like Kenobi here is generating some SSH keys. Private RSA key pair puts it, the standard, the default name, create directory.ssh. We'll assume that that's blank. We don't see any input for that. Your identification has been saved in home Kenobi. Yep. And we got the public and the private. Basic ProFtpd configuration file. So that's that port 21 coming into play right there for ProFtpd at 1.3 point something. We can go back in our notes and check that out if we need to. Preventing DDoS attacks. I don't think we're going to be worrying about that. Set the user and group under which the server will run. Looks like we're going to be running as Kenobi. That's pretty obvious. Okay, so we can allow override. That's on. So it looks like anonymous configurations on the FTP. Okay, interesting. Not seeing too much more, at least for me, I'm not seeing anything more interesting than the fact that we know where those SSH keys are. And we know we're, getting them machine as Kenobi, so that's pretty straightforward. What's this? This is actually share definitions. Nothing too crazy. The anonymous share, it looks like, is well, we already knew that path. Going to Kenobi. All right, so well, we read that. What port is FTP running on? That's pretty easy. We know that from our mmap scan earlier, and we'll also update our notes there. So what port is FTP running on? Running on. It's gonna be 21. And your earlier mmap port scan will have shown the port 111 running. That's RPC. Yep. This is just a server that converts remote procedure call program number into universal addresses. When an RPC service is started, it tells RPC bind the address at which it is listening and the RPC program number it's prepared to serve. In our case, port 111 is access to a network file system, or NFS share. Let's use Nmap to enumerate this, and it gives you the Nmap command in order to get that ran through. Usually I would just use like show mount. I see it's using show mount, but never actually used this script before, so that's actually kind of new for me. Let's go ahead and get this ran. We're gonna go ahead and we'll keep that up just for now, just in case. Don't know if we'll need it. So I'll go ahead and run this, and that was pretty quick. And we see that /var is going to be the mount that we can see. Wonder if show mount -e would be 10 10 79 246. Haven't used show mount in so long. And show mount. And this just shows you, it basically shows you the same thing, and you can actually mount a share through show mount as well. But I've just never used the mmap script, so I'm just a little curious. And it's, like I said, it's been a while since I've used show mount, sadly. Let's see. Okay. All right, let's update our notes as well. So what mount can we see? That's var. And I think that did it for task 2. Yep, that's it. So we'll be gaining initial access with ProFtpd. Looks like. So ProFtpd is a free and open source FTP server compatible with Unix and Windows systems. It's also been vulnerable in the past software versions. So there have been more recent software versions other than that 1. I don't even remember what that was, but we'll find out in just a second, because our first question is what is the version? And that kind of goes back to, make sure you keep notes, because of course now we can just go into our notes and get the version number. So we can cat the open ports format that we saved, and we see that is 1.3.5, and luckily for us, we don't have to rerun an Nmap scan. So let's go ahead and update our notes on that as well. What version of FTP? ProFtpd. The lowercase d. Technically, you know what? We'll just do that. And it's 1.3.5. All right. And we can use searchsploit to find exploits for a particular software version. Searchsploit is basically just a command line search tool for exploit-db.com. How many exploits are there for the ProFtpd running? And searchsploit is actually a really cool tool. That's, I think, comes native with Linux. So we can actually just run searchsploit and then ProFtpd. I think we can actually 1.3.5. Make it a little bit more granular, and we see that there's actually 3, and there's a lot more for you can make it just a very very vague search for the entire ProFtpd, all the versions. You can get them all, or obviously you can make it a little bit more granular for just the specific version. In this case, we have to make it a little bit easier to get our answer, which is 3. But as you can see, even some of the previous versions and more current ones, I don't know how current 2.4 is, but probably not very. But we know that those are vulnerable too. So back to the box though. We have three exploits running on ProFtpd. Let's also update our notes there. How many exploits are there for ProFtpd? See, that gets me. See, the FTP here is capitalized, and the one up there is not. So I don't know. How many exploits are there for ProFtpd running? So, and we saw that there are 3 for 1.3.5, which is the version that is on this box. And just for my sake, I'm actually going to change this since the one under it is like that. I'm just going to go ahead and make this one because I like the way that one looks. I don't know why. I like the way that looks instead of lowercase. All right, you should have found an exploit from ProFtpd's mod copy module. So let's see if that's one of them that we got. Yep, we actually got 2. We got one in Metasploit, one without, and we got just a regular file copy. The mod copy module implements site CPFR and site CPTO commands, which can be used to copy files, directories from one place to another on the server. Any unauthenticated client can leverage these commands to copy files from any part of the file system to a chosen destination. I need to re-authenticate my words so I can speak them clearly. We know that the FTP service is running as the Kenobi user from the file on the share, and an SSH key is generated for that user. This is correct. No answer needed here, so we're good there. So we need to use this module. I wonder if it takes us to the, I was going to see if it took us to like the exploit DB of that, but no worries. We're now going to copy Kenobi's private key using site CPFR and site CPTO commands. So let's go ahead and do that. See, we can search exploit -x, I believe it is, and then I believe it's just copy like this right here. Just do file copy. I'm pretty sure if I do that, it should give us a little bit of information on that. So TJ Saunders, founded in April 7th, 2015. Or, I mean, not founded, but, you know, submitted. Okay. The following site commands are recognized. This, and what all this does, search exploit, if you give it the -x option, argument, it just kind of gives you a rundown of whatever module you choose. So, interesting. Okay, so we can exit that, and all we need to do is actually run that. So we just kind of follow the instructions here. It actually shows it what to do actually right here. So that's pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and get to that FTP port. So that's 10, 10, 79, 246, then 21 for FTP. And as you see, it doesn't really give any prompts. We just have to kind of, you know, hope and pray that we're connected. Not really, but we know we're connected. All right, and then all we got to do is type that site CPFR home Kenobi. I know I can do this. I know I can type today. .ssh-id RSA, and then we can do site CPTO var temp id RSA. And I didn't make this directory, so I'm assuming, and I'm just kind of looking at what they have here. I'm assuming that if it's not created, it will create that directory. Let's see if we get an error back on that. It was successful, so I'll just assume that was either created. I hope it's created. We knew that the var directory was a mount we could see, so we've now moved Kenobi's private key to the var temp directory. Okay, we did that. Let's mount the var temp directory to our machine. It gives you the mount commands, which is pretty cool. We're actually going to mount it into this. Let's go ahead and exit. and we're actually going to mount it into this this directory. So let's call it we'll call it makedir. We'll call it kinmount. We'll go ahead and run the mount, which is the mount command, which is 10.10.79.246. So it's mount with IP address and then colon and then /var, which is the share that we want to mount, and then we want to mount it here, so it should just go right through. Let's see. Oh, we want to mount it to can share home. Only root can do that. That's not fair. And it might take just a second. Oh, look at that. It's already good. So we can cd kinmount, and there we are. So we can go into cd temp. We can ls that, and there is our private key right there. So I wonder if, do we have anything to answer for that? We now have a network mount on our deployed machine. You can go to var temp, get the private key, log into Kenobi's account. Look at that. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and copy that over. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and copy that over to our machine. Let's see if we need to update anything. Have we answered anything? We haven't, but what we can do is actually go into this and put, you know, we can say, what have we done since then? Since finding the version number, we have, let's see, exploited ProFtpd to copy the private key to var temp. I'm gonna get it done, I promise. And mounted var to our host. All right. Kind of a little idea where we're going here. So now that we kind of updated our notes, and we need to go ahead and copy that private key over to our machine, so we can SSH over as Kenobi into Kenobi. So let's cp id, and then we want to go up and up, and we could put it into files. It is technically it's a file to me, at least. So now we can run SSH. Actually, we need to change the permissions on that to 600 to make it safe and secure, so that we can even run it. And then now we can SSH-I ID RSA or underscore RSA, and then Kenobi at 10.10.79.246. And yes, we're cool with that. And there we are. We are now in the box as Kenobi. So let's see if we're in the directory. Yep, and we have the the user file. We can cat that out and copy that and submit it. And look at that, we're good to go. Now we can move on to privesc. And let's first understand what SUID and SGID and sticky bits are. So user executes the file with permissions of the file owner. So if like, I don't know, if you had a command that ran as root and you had, if there was a SUID bit and you could run it, well, then you would run it as root, as the root user. So you could technically get a privesc that way, or if it was the group, kind of the same thing. File created in directory gets the same group owner. And I'm actually not aware of sticky bits, I don't think. Maybe it's just no meaning users are prevented from deleting files from other users. I think, yeah, I kind of understand that. So let's see, let's start with number one here. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's before we go forward, can't forget notes. Let's see. Used SSH key to promote into machine as Kenobi and obtain user.txt. I'm gonna put that in quotations. There we go. Awesome. On to the last task, which is privilege escalation. And the first thing it wants us to do is just kind of tells us that these bits can be dangerous. Some binaries, such as ProFtpd, or needs to run with elevated privileges as it's resetting your password on the system. However, other custom files could that have the that's confusing. However, other custom files could that have the SUID bit can lead to all sorts of issues. Had a little brain fart there. Don't worry, it all happens. It happens to everybody. See, it just happened to me. There it goes, right there. To search the wow, my God, it happened again. To search the A system for these types of files, to search a system for these types of files, run the following. This entire little area right here has it's set me back. Set me back a little bit of time here. I apologize for wasting some of your time. Let's get back to it. That's a tongue twister, man. That makes you think. But it luckily gives us the command to run after all that. I think we deserve it to be given the command to run. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to go through the entire system and try to find everything that has a SUID bit, and any errors, it's just going to, direct it to nothingness and not show it to us, because we don't really care about errors. We only care about the good stuff. So what files look particularly out of the ordinary? Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and get over there. We're going to go ahead and run that. That shouldn't take too long. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Put a bunch of B's there because I tried to scroll. I apologize. Matter of fact, in order to stop that, let's do this. I'm gonna restart that. That way we kind of get a very clean list of what we have here. Okay, so we see all this stuff. I really don't know what's out of order here. So what we can do is we can actually create a new one and then run that same thing on my machine and see if anything's really different. And what I actually should be doing is running tmux right now. And if you're not familiar with tmux, just to kind of go off track here, we could do like a tmux new session. Yeah, new session -s, and we'll call it Kenobi. And what we could do is we could cd over to our change directories over to our the files directory so that we can SSH. So let's do that actually. Let's just use tmux real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of this. And we'll go ahead and change directory to thm Kenobi files, and there's that IDRSA, and we'll go ahead and SSH-SI and Kenobi at 10.10.79.246. Perfect. And then what we could do is we can just split it. And then we can run it there and run it. Uh-oh. Come on, don't do this to me. Make me look crazy. Missing an F there. Okay, now we can see them both on the same screen instead of having to like click back and forth or control tab back and forth. So let's see. Ping 6 is definitely not something I have, but I highly doubt that's going to be it. Just looking through here, don't really see. I mean, I want to be honest, there's a lot of things that are definitely different about my machine than this one. So, yeah. Let's see. What looks particularly out of order? Well, sometimes I'm happy they give us hints, but sometimes I'm not. So I can already tell you right now that I know that it's going to be probably in this USR area, and most of that is bin. So let me see if there's anything different in bin, because I just know because we have three different little, I'm not going to call them octets, but we have 3 different areas here, and the bin shares don't really go that far. So we know it's user bin. Let's see. New group. sudo, that's not going to be it. Let's just I actually don't even know what this is. Let's just give it a try. There we go. That's actually, some people will not believe this, but that was actually a really good guess. I'm actually shocked right now. Wow. Run the binary. How many? Run the binary. How many options? How many options appear? So before we do that, let's go ahead and update those notes. And let's see what file looks what file looks particularly out of order. What file looks particularly out of order? That was user bin menu. Can't believe I got that. I honestly did not know where we needed to go with that. I was actually getting a little worried for the sake of this video. I was gonna be just copying and pasting a bunch of these things. The only thing that kind of got it was the fact that I knew that it at least went to user bin, so we could do all of these, just not that one. And that's about the only one. I'm gonna have to look into why that, why it's this one. I actually don't know what's about to happen now. So run the binary, how many options appear, so we need to run that. We can actually go ahead and exit this because we don't need it anymore, and we can run this and see what happens. So 3 is the answer here. I'm not going to copy and paste into cherry tree because that did not work last time. So how many binaries? Oh, I did not mean to do that. Okay. All right, now that our notes are updated and I'm kind of falling apart as we get close to the end here with only 2 more things to do, and I can't even get it together. Let's try to wrap it up. String is a command on Linux. Strings is a command on Linux that looks for human readable strings on a binary. This shows us the binary is running without a full path, not using user bin curl or user bin uname. So let's we can actually run that against this. So actually, I'll just go ahead and hit run. What does that do for us? It's a HTTP request. That's pretty cool. So let's see what the rest does. Kernel version tells us the version of kernel, obviously. Don't know if that's exploitable. And it gives us some IP information, stuff we already know. So that's cool. And then what we can do is we can strings that, and it just spits out a bunch of stuff. And oh man, I didn't put this on the proper thing. Let me just exit now and clear, and we will go back to SSH-I IDRSA Kenobi at 10.10.79.246. I'm still kind of getting used to tmux, so anytime like a lot of the output goes above that, anytime I try to scroll, my mouse decides to go haywire. So I need to there's always things to learn, and that's just one of them for me. So let's see, where was I? We were giving strings to this callout, and we look at that. Doesn't look to be like anything crazy. Oh wait, why am I still in tmux? Get out of here. Get out of here, tmux. Get out of here. Strings. All right, there we go. Back to the basics here. Back to the basics. So that's what we see. It does a curl like it shows in the little screenshot here, right there. Uname R, ifconfig. So just the 3 basic things for these 3 basic options. And let's see, this shows us, yep, as the file runs as the root user's privilege. As this file runs as the root user's privileges, we can manipulate our path to gain a root shell. We copy the bin sh shell. Okay, so it actually tells us what to do here, which is also pretty cool. That's great. So what's going to happen is we just copy a shell, a sh shell, call it curl, give it the correct permissions, and then put it in the location of our path, our path. And this meant that when the user bin menu binary was ran, it's using our path variable to find the curl binary, quote unquote. So this curl binary, which was making the HTTP request, and then which is actually a version of sh, and it runs and it basically just pops a shell. Oh, okay, well that's awesome. So let's give that a shot. So we'll echo bin sh and we'll call that curl, and now that called curl, so that's cool. And then we'll make it executable by everybody, and you can see it's now we can now execute it if we wanted to, and it works. And we can export path to equal, we're actually not in temp. I see it's showing temp, but we are in our, well, I'm pretty sure we're in our home directory. We are. So what we can do is we can actually just export path equals home Kenobi, and then also add path, so it still has everything else, and enter. Now we can run user bin menu, and we would want to do 1, which was the first option, which is curl, but it should run our curl now. And if we check, it did, and we are root, and we can cd to root, and there is the root.txt, and we can cat that out. Boom, there we have it. Root flag obtained. We'll also update our notes. So how many binaries? There's 3. We modified the we modified the path to call a shell as root to obtain a elevated shell. Root.txt obtained. Box complete. Perfect. So that would actually do it. We would go ahead and put that in there. We'll complete that, and we are done. The room has been completed. Well, I certainly appreciate it. Sorry for the little hiccups throughout, but like I said, still learning, and hopefully you learned a little bit as well. And thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one. Bye.